I mean, they're cool, right? I love the box art so hard. Going to a video rental store and choosing what to play without the benefit or detriment of a YouTube reviewer telling you what's what. All you had to guide you was a cardboard box. I mean, I love all this shit. I'm a 90s teen, an 80s baby. But, yeah, maybe I've gone too far. I can't own everything, can I? Hell, I probably won't even want any of this stuff when I'm an old man. Will anyone want it then? It's hard to say. Oh, I can hear some of you. What's more important, playing the games or putting them up on a shelf? Playing them, obviously. But from a preservation standpoint, keeping the movies, television shows, and games that hard-coded our minds into the mushy gray they are now from being lost to companies that own the rights to the artist's work with no intention of making them available? I mean, I don't know how important it is in the grand scheme of things, but I still have a lot of affection for those experiences. A lot of us do. Now, to focus specifically on retro gaming, a subject that YouTube simply has not covered nearly enough, many will say you can still play the games, and playing them on original hardware is the only pure way. Others will say PC emulation is amazing now, so just buy a hard drive on Amazon with all the ROMs already configured in Hyperspin or something. And some will be like, what words are you even saying, you fucking nerd fuckface? Point is, all viewpoints are valid when discussing our hobbies, because in the end, we'd all survive without any of the toys from our youth. But there is value in it, in whatever way you can afford it. It's okay to emulate everything on a cheap Raspberry Pi on a laggy LCD monitor like a basic bitch. Just like it's okay to be a snotty dick and play on a multi-format BVM with RGB modded consoles and cartridges that cost $1,000 each. Gamers usually come together on the important stuff. For me, the value comes from revisiting the medium that informed all of my successive creative work for the rest of my life, often without even knowing it. I still feel inspired by the pixel art and music from 16-bit video games. So much artistic expression with such limitation. I still get a big dumb grin on my face when I fire up that original PlayStation BIOS screen on a CRT. Because for me personally, it reminds me of a once private aspect to my person. Gaming still isn't respected equally alongside other art forms, but in the 80s and the 90s, it could get you punched. So, in many ways, I often hid my fascination with all things gaming. I didn't really talk to anyone about how much I appreciated the genre-bending narratives of Chrono Trigger or the surprising character development of Red 13 and Cosmo Canyon, or what it meant to me as a kid to finish The Legend of Zelda with only the help of an instruction booklet and a map. I would occasionally run across a kid and become friends just so that we could discuss games, but I was a deeply introverted only child that was terrified to open up to anyone in any significant way, so most of my gaming experience was by and large private. But now I am an adult. Somehow I found a partner that has been patient enough to allow me to wax on and on and on about all things gaming. She's even started to play many of the games I love, which I cannot even express the joy I feel sharing an entire lifetime of private thoughts locked behind a door with someone else after so much time. So I guess the sharing is as important to me as the games themselves. Sharing the art that informed so much of my aesthetic identity. The exposure to a non-Western culture that drove me towards a wide range of artistic appreciation that belied my small-town Midwestern upbringing. The sharing of those impulses and memories has become a shot of vitality as my body slowly degrades. So what? I guess I'm talking about value. Value can be emotional, monetary, time. It's wildly subjective and individual. So since I'm well aware we will all prescribe different values to different ways of exploring retro tech, and in this case, retro gaming, I want to focus on one particular path that has provided the best value for money for me personally over my last decade of rekindling my love for vintage gaming. The MiSTer FPGA. All right, let's take a breath here. Now we've got to seamlessly transition between the philosophical and practical. What is the MiSTer FPGA? There are so many amazing content creators that can answer that question with incredible depth, love, and appreciation, better than I can. But before I turn you on to my life in gaming's 2-hour deep dive into the MiSTer, I should start with a consoleized summary for those new to the idea. The MiSTer is a combination of an FPGA board, I'll get to that, and an open source code environment created by an incredibly dedicated community of programmers that are driven to preserve old games with far more care than the companies that now own those games' rights. In other words, some beautiful geeks figured out a way to get a certain kind of computer board called an FPGA that specializes in altering its own binary pathways to copy the processors of gaming computers from the past. These cores or instruction sets tell the FPGA to emulate the behavior of old gaming consoles and can often result in near perfect gameplay accuracy. Your old Nintendo games just like you remember, except better than that, because the cores often come with some extremely useful modern conveniences like being able to play nearly lag-free old-school gaming on a modern display. You can't do that with your old Nintendo. Or use save states, because let's be honest, you never beat Mega Man 2. Or you can tinker with usually hidden aspects of the rendering process for hardcore nerds. Blah, 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 blah. So what? What does all this mean? Well, let me show you. If you want to play older games, think 80s, 90s systems like Nintendo, Genesis, all the way up to PlayStation. Or you want to experience systems that hardly anyone owned but are amazing. Neo Geo, Sega Saturn. You've got 3 basic options. 1, own functional original hardware and software, own the TVs you can hook them up to, or a scaler, we'll talk about that some other time, and have a dedicated space for all that stuff. Or you can get a PC with a bunch of software emulators, programs, apps that emulate the old systems and have the knowledge to put it all together in a functional way. Or you can use the MiSTer. Trust me when I say that you can find very compelling arguments for why one approach is better than the other. So I won't go into great depth here, but I will say this. PC emulation is flexible, scalable, can be beautiful, and even provide major upside like improving old systems' rendering capabilities. Original hardware is a delight in its own right. I mean, hard nostalgia putting in a cartridge, dealing with the same flaws you remember, and probably playing on a CRT with all that tube bloom warmth you remember. And the MiSTer, well, it sort of falls in between in a really unique and exciting way. In essence, the MiSTer is function over form. Its primary purpose is to load all your ROMs, game files obtained totally legally from your own original games and not from the internet or hard drives on Amazon, onto a little micro SD card and then boot them up on your contemporary LCD via HDMI, or your OLED, or a consumer CRT with a cheap cable, or a VGA monitor, or a professional video monitor, or, well, you get my point, it's flexible. The MiSTer is basically like having a wall of old consoles that often fail in one way or another just due to their age, to run a library of games exactly like they used to, hooked up to any viewing source you want. I mean, there are admittedly a lot of ways to get a similar result, but as a person that genuinely values the prospect of enjoying artistic work in a way that really highlights the work itself, the MiSTer starts at an 8 and can be pushed to a 10. Plug in a good USB controller and hook it up to whatever TV you have now, 8 out of 10. Most people would enjoy this, it's pretty stellar. Get a direct USB dongle for your original controllers and attach the MiSTer to a CRT or even better, a PVM. 10 out of 10. Use the optical audio out and hook it up to a stereo? Come on. You want to see Chrono Trigger with sharp ass pixels, fluid animation, all while hearing Nobuo Uematsu's sick chip tunes filling the room with clarity and soundstage? The MiSTer delivers. Hard. All in all, it's a dream to boot up something with such a boring functional list of systems and games, tinker until you have everything set up basically the way you want, then experience a library of gaming that influenced almost everything we enjoy today. Now, I respect a person that prefers original hardware. In point of fact, I have refound the joys of putting in a disc to watch a movie because of the deliberate physical act of firing it up, rather than experiencing the choice paralysis of streaming services. Playing games on original hardware, despite the challenges of upkeep and hooking them up to modern TVs, is really fun, genuinely. But it's not for everyone. Budget alone can make this a non-starter for some. And in terms of emulation, I had a blast putting together my launch box front end for my library of ROMs. It works great, it's part of my gaming PC, and it's all hooked up to our main OLED TV in our den, so we can just play anything anytime we want on a big, beautiful TV. I know I must seem spoiled, but I grew up with very little, and I am not having children, so now I spend almost all my discretionary income on this nonsense. So I guess I'm just trying to justify my own guilt for sharing my embarrassment of riches with anyone who can't currently pick and choose what they get to indulge in. But trust when I say I remember what that's like. So just know that I am so goddamn grateful for what I get to share with you today, and I hope my appreciation comes through because, again, it's the sharing of the things that we love that matters. Anyway, what I'm driving at is this. I'm the asshole who's tried almost everything. I'm compulsive that way. Oh, I'm thinking of playing old games again, he said 5 years ago. Fast forward to learning about every possible avenue, including the cost-benefit analyses, until there's literally nothing left to do but to come back from the wilderness with a report. And so, my report is this. I use the MiSTer more than anything else for retro gaming. The mix of convenience, quality, and flexibility is just dope as hell for anyone that wants to ogle some incredible pixel art and animation from a period where some of the most innovative artists in the world were making games while everyone refused to take them seriously. I just want to make it clear that all the links you need are in the description. Links to other YouTube videos that show you how to put it all together, granular explanations of what you can and can't do with the technology, some fun listicles to get you to find some great old games you may have or never have played, and finally some affiliate links to purchase some of the pieces you need to get going.